Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in and listening to my commentary. So, it seems like the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame has removed the Rolling Stone co-founder Jann Wenner from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame board of directors. And he's been removed because of this interview that he gave with the New York Times that was literally downright, I'm just going to call it what it is, downright racist, horrible, prejudice. And I'm going to explain why. Rolling Stone co-founder Jann Wenner has been ousted Jann Wenner has been ousted from his position on the board of directors of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame Foundation. The news was announced on Saturday following an interview with the New York Times, where he made widely criticized comments about black and female musicians, alongside revealing other questionable editorial decisions. Wenner is promoting his book, The Masters, which features interviews with influential artists such as Bob Dylan, Mick Jagger, Pete Townshend, John Lennon, and Bruce Springsteen. None of the artists featured are female or non-white. In the Times interview with Wenner that published on Friday, he said that black and also female musicians didn't articulate at the level of the white male musicians in his tone. On Saturday, a rep from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame sent a statement to Rolling Stone. Jann Wenner has been removed from the board of directors of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame Foundation. No explanation was given. A rep for the Rock Hall did not immediately return Rolling Stone's request for further comment. Wenner co-founded the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, which opened in 1987. He served as the chairman until 2020. Wenner is not part of the board of the affiliated museum. In the interview with the Times, David Marquesi, Wenner was asked about the exclusion of people of color or female artists. It's not that they're not creative geniuses. It's not that they're inarticulate. Although, go have a deep conversation with Grace Slick or Janis Joplin. Please be my guest. You know, Joni Mitchell, as in Mitchell, was not a philosopher of rock and roll. Wenner said she didn't, in my mind, meet the test. Not by her work, not by other interviews she did. The people I interviewed were the kind of philosophers of rock. A black artist, you know, Stevie Wonder, genius, right? I suppose when you use a word as broad as masters, the fault is using that word. Maybe Marvin Gaye or Curtis Mayfield. I mean, they just didn't articulate at that level. I mean, look at what Pete Townshend was writing about, or Jagger, or any of them. He continued, they were deep things about a particular generation, a particular spirit, and a particular attitude about rock and roll. Not that the others weren't, but these were the ones that could really articulate it. During the interview, he considered how he may have approached the book differently. Just for public relations' sake, maybe I should have gone and found, and this is what's getting me, one black and one woman artist to include here that didn't measure up to the same historical standards, just to avert this kind of criticism, which I get it. I had a chance to do that. Maybe I'm old-fashioned and I don't give a belief or whatever. I wish in retrospect I could have interviewed Marvin Gaye. Maybe he'd have been the guy. That's right, because he is one of the greats. I love Marvin Gaye. But maybe Otis Redding, had he lived, would have been the guy. On Saturday night, Wenner issued a statement apologizing for what he said in the interview. In my interview with the New York Times, I made comments that diminished the contribution, genius, and impact of black and women artists, and I apologize wholeheartedly for those remarks. He said, "The Masters is a collection of interviews I've done over the years that seem to me the best representative and idea of rock and roll's impact on the world. They were not meant to represent the whole of music and its diverse and important originators, but to reflect the high points of my career in interviews I felt illustrated the breadth and experience in that career. They don't reflect my appreciation and admiration for Mirad Tomic, world-changing artists whose music and ideas I revere and I celebrate and I promote as long as I live," he added. "I totally understand the inflammatory nature of badly chosen words and deeply apologize and accept the consequences. Beyond the controversial comments about the artists that were and were not featured in the Masters, he also revealed during the interview that he allowed interview subjects to edit transcripts of their interviews prior to publication, which is not an accepted editorial practice, and Rolling Stone does not allow interviews to approve transcripts or final copy. Oh, wow. Wenner founded Rolling Stone 1967 and remained its editor or editorial director until 2019. His son, Gus Wenner, is the CEO of the magazine. Jann Wenner is an editorial director of Wenner Media, of which PMC has a controlling interest. PMC is the parent company of the Rolling Stone. Now, I think it's interesting that they will talk about one of their own in this article, because this is courtesy of the Rolling Stone magazine. Okay? Now, let's go back. This man said something about black and women. But I'm going to focus more on the black, because if you all know, rock and roll comes from rhythm and blues. And rhythm and blues comes from blues, okay? Blues is basically late 19th century, a little bit actually before that, post-Civil War, but during a little bit after Reconstruction, okay? And it started around the same time as ragtime, okay? Now, for those of you who don't know, rock and roll architects, they were black, okay? And the song, and Rolling Stone is named after a song, Rolling Stone by Muddy Waters. That's where the Rolling Stones band got their name from. They loved Muddy Waters, okay? Now, if you're going to say black and women did not basically meet your tests, they were not philosophers of rock, these artists, then what's the point of you having this, writing this book? I know it's about interviews. What you could have said in your book is acknowledge those architects of rock who are black and stated, I never got the chance to interview them because of them passing away before my creation of the Rolling Stone magazine, or because they didn't have the time, if they were still alive, to be interviewed. Dude, you didn't interview Chuck Berry? You never had an interview with Chuck Berry? Chuck Berry only passed away 6 years ago. He passed away, I think he was like 91 or 90. You didn't get a chance to interview Chuck Berry all the years. When you created the Rolling Stone magazine, Chuck Berry was only 41 years old. You had ample amount of time to interview him. What about Little Richard? I mean, what about there's a lot that I could think of, but they're just not coming to my mind. But they were there. So you're going to say that they didn't have the philosophy of rock as white people did? You know what that makes you, Jann Wenner? That makes you a culture vulturist, apologist, and it makes you a promoter of gentrification of rock and roll, and basically taking our artistic creation and giving it to another group and saying that group interpreted much better than you, as in blacks. Now, when it comes to the women, I'm going to say this. To be fair, there were women that were there, but the women was more there in blues, which still is the precursor of rock and roll. Now, he was foul on both levels with that. You don't like women, and you seem like you don't really respect black people intellectually when it comes to like music in general. Because first of all, Marvin Gaye was not a rock and roll artist. Marvin Gaye was an R&B artist. He was a soul artist. And in my opinion, the greatest of all time. I love Marvin Gaye. But besides that, you wouldn't interview him for rock and roll because he was R&B. He was Motown, which is our own genre, So it wouldn't make sense. Now, Stevie Wonder later on was gravitating towards it. You want to tell me that he wasn't a genius? You gonna say that? Curtis Mayfield? Are you bugging? I got the best one. Prince. Why you didn't have Prince? Why you didn't have Prince in your interviews? Because I'm sure y'all interviewed Prince. Y'all didn't have him. You know what, Jann? I'm gonna say that you can't come to me with this BS. You on some racist type of time, and you know what? It's okay. And I'm glad you said what you said, because everybody knows how you feel and your sentiment towards Black artists and female artists. And you have been removed from the Hall of Fame that you created. And you won't be removed from Rolling Stone because this is what you created. This is your baby. But I think the sales will bye-bye. 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 And with that being said, I have to go because I have to go to work. Take care. Thank you for listening to this commentary, everyone. Subscribe, share, and comment, and like. And I'll be back later.